The year was 1407 BC. The city was Pethor, on the banks of the Euphrates, and in a stone room lit by a single oil lamp, a man stared at a pile of silver on the table. He did not blink. He did not move. He just stared. He thought of his father's house. He thought of the years before his name was known, the years when merchants used to look past him in the market, when his sandals had holes in them, when he had eaten cold barley 3 nights in a row. He thought of how heavy that silver would feel in his palm. And before he could stop himself, a thought rose in his chest he did not want to admit. I have earned this. After everything I have done, I have earned this. But the strangest part of his story isn't the silver. It isn't the king who hired him. It isn't even the angel with the drawn sword waiting for him on a road 3 days from now. The strangest part is this. The only one in this entire story who saw clearly had 4 legs. Tonight, you're going to hear how God used a donkey to humiliate a prophet, expose a divided heart, and prophesy the coming of Christ, 1400 years before the manger in Bethlehem. By the time we reach the final oracle on the heights of Moab, you will understand something terrifying. Sometimes the words God speaks through a man are bigger than the man who speaks them. And sometimes the man dies clutching the silver, while the words he spoke lead foreign kings to the cradle of the Messiah. This is the story of Balaam, son of Beor, the seer who could not see, the prophet who would not listen, and the donkey who saved his life. 2 kings were dead. Sihon of Heshbon, destroyed. Og of Bashan, destroyed. The Amorite empire that had ruled the Transjordan for generations, wiped from the map in a single season. Wiped out by a nation that, just 40 years earlier, had been a mob of slaves wandering deserts. Far to the south, in a palace in Moab, a king could not sleep. Balak stood at his window long after midnight, a cup of wine forgotten in his hand. Below him, far below, across the river plain, the campfires of Israel burned. He had counted them once. He had stopped counting. He had drunk a cup of wine. He had counted again from a different window. The number was bigger. Behind him, in the dark of the chamber, his elders waited. He refused, one of them finally said. The seer, he refused to come. Balak did not turn around. His eyes did not leave the fires. He did not refuse, the king said quietly. He said his God refused. There is a door in that sentence. Find it. He drained the cup. He set it down on the windowsill with a hand that trembled, not from fear of the seer, but from the fires he could not stop counting. Send better men, send heavier gold. Tell him I will give him whatever he asks. Tell him I am desperate. Balak was a strategist. He understood that physical battles were the visible edge of invisible wars. The Israelites were not just numerous. They were backed something. Someone was fighting for them. And if Balak could not defeat them with swords, perhaps he could defeat them with curses. He needed a man, the most expensive kind. What few people know is that Balaam was not a fictional character. In 1967, archaeologists digging at Deir Allah in modern Jordan uncovered a wall of ancient plaster covered in writing. The text opened in red ink with these words: warnings from the book of Balaam, son of Beor. He was a seer of the gods. Balaam was real. Balaam was famous. Balaam was remembered by pagan civilizations for centuries after he died. He loved 3 things: his reputation, his rituals, and his reward. What Balak did not know, what Balaam himself did not know, was that the man he was about to hire would deliver one of the most stunning prophecies in the entire Old Testament. A prophecy that would echo across 14 centuries and rise into the night sky over Bethlehem. and he would do it with a sword hovering inches from his own throat. Because some men sell their souls slowly, one coin at a time. A caravan of Moabite princes crossed 400 miles of desert to reach his door. 400 miles. Think about that. It means weeks of travel, royal princes leaving wives and children, servants dying of fever along the road, camels dropping dead in the deep sands of Aram, crossing the Euphrates with hired guides because they did not know the fords. Every mile, every blister, every grave dug by the side of the road, for one man's voice, for one curse spoken in the desert. That is how badly King Balak wanted Israel destroyed. When the delegation arrived in Pethor, they did not come empty-handed. The Hebrew text uses a chilling phrase. It says they carried kesem in their hands, fees for divination. The same word the Torah uses everywhere else for forbidden sorcery. Leather pouches heavy with silver set down on Balaam's table with a sound he had heard 100 times before. They delivered Balak's message. There is a people that has come out of Egypt. They cover the face of the earth. Come and curse them for me, for I know that whomever you bless is blessed, and whomever you curse is cursed. Balaam looked at the silver. He looked at the princes, and he gave them the answer of a man who knew exactly how to play this game. Stay the night here. I will bring back word as the Lord speaks to me. That night, God came to him, not in a vision, not in a riddle, in words so plain a child could understand them. You shall not go with them. You shall not curse the people, for they are blessed. 3 commands, 1 sentence, crystal clear. Balaam stood in the silence of his chamber and turned the words over in his mind. They are blessed. He has spoken. There is nothing more to say. But the next thought betrayed him. Unless he says something else tomorrow. In the morning, Balaam walked out to the princes. He told them, "Go back to your land.
The Lord has refused to give me leave to go with you."
But notice what he did not tell them. He did not tell them Israel was blessed. He did not tell them that no curse on earth could ever land on this nation. He did not tell them God had already settled the matter forever. He gave them a refusal that sounded final, but he kept the door cracked open. Just enough silver light to seep through. The princes returned to Moab. They told Balak the prophet refused, but they also told him that Balaam said the Lord refused, not that Balaam refused. There is a vast difference between those two answers. One closes the conversation, the other opens a negotiation. Balak heard it, and Balak smiled. The second delegation arrived at sunset. Princes more honorable than the first, robes finer, saddles trimmed in silver. Behind them, mules carrying chests heavier than any payment Balaam had ever seen in his life. And a message from the king himself, spoken aloud in front of every servant in the courtyard. Let nothing hinder you from coming to me, for I will surely honor you greatly, and whatever you say to me, I will do. A blank check from a king, the chance to write your own price. Balaam stepped forward. He stood tall. He drew a long, slow breath, and he delivered a speech so pious it could have been carved on a temple wall.
Though Balak gave me his house, full of silver and gold, I could not go beyond the word of the Lord my God. To do less.
It sounds magnificent. It sounds like the answer of a holy man. But notice what he did not say. He did not say no. He said, let me ask again. He said, stay the night here also, that I may know what more the Lord will say to me. The man who had already heard a clear command from God now wanted a second opinion from the same God. Have you ever asked God twice for something He already answered? Not because you needed clarity, but because you wanted a different answer. We have all done it. The first answer didn't fit our plans, so we knelt down again and we made it sound like reverence, but our heart was not asking for guidance. Our heart was asking God to reconsider. That is exactly what Balaam did. In the darkness of his chamber that night, the seer of Pethor sat on the edge of his bed and whispered into the silence. Maybe this time he'll say yes. And here is where the story turns terrifying. God answered, "If the men have come to call you, rise and go with them." Stop there. That sounds like permission. But only the word that I speak to you, that you shall do. Stop again. That sounds like a restriction. Most people read these verses and assume God changed his mind, but the very next verse explodes that reading. Numbers 22, verse 22. But God's anger was kindled because he went. Wait, God told him to go. Why is God now angry that he went? Because there is a kind of permission God gives that is itself a judgment. When a man insists, when he persists, when he asks again and again for something God has already forbidden, sometimes God says yes. Not because the matter is changed, because the man has revealed his heart. Romans chapter 1 calls it being given over to your own desires. It is not mercy, it is sentence. Balaam thought he had negotiated with God. He had not. He had been handed a rope. The next morning, the seer rose before sunrise. He saddled his donkey himself, not even waiting for a servant. He loaded 2 attendants. He rode out of Pethor with the princes of Moab on either side. He was certain of one thing. He was riding to collect the greatest payment of his life. He did not know that on a road carved between 2 stone walls, a being of fire was waiting, a sword in his hand, and a grave with Balaam's name on it.
The road climbed through hill country, dry grass, heat shimmering off the stones, the clop of hooves on packed earth, the smell of dust and donkey sweat in the air. That donkey had carried Balaam for years, through markets, through deserts, through nights when storms broke open the sky and only her steady steps brought him home. She knew the weight of him. She knew the smell of his cloak. She knew the sound of his voice when he was angry, and the sound of his voice when he was tired. She had never refused him, not once. She did not know that today she would refuse him 3 times. She did not know that today she would speak. She had walked this road 100 times, the same dust, the same heat, the same weight of her master in the saddle, half dozing in the sun. And then, light. Something stood in the road that did not belong to the road. A figure made of fire. A blade that hurt her eyes. She could not look away. She could not look at it, both at once. Her legs locked beneath her, and somewhere far above, distant now, smaller than the fire, she felt her master kick her ribs. She did not understand his voice anymore. She only understood the burning person in front of her, and the one word her body knew without being taught. Run. She bolted off the road into the open field beside it. Balaam, riding behind her in the saddle, eyes squinting against the sun, saw nothing. Nothing but a stupid, stubborn animal veering into the weeds. He pulled the reins. He cursed under his breath. He raised his staff and beat her until she stumbled back onto the road. He thought he was correcting an animal. He was assaulting a creature who had just saved his life. The road narrowed again. Stone walls of a vineyard pressed in on both sides. There was the field on the left, but it was gone now, just stone. And the figure of fire stood in the path again, still burning, still holding the sword. The donkey had no field this time. She did the only thing she could. She pressed her flank into the wall, hard, trying to squeeze past the fire. And as she pressed, Balaam's foot, caught between her body and the rough stones, was crushed. "Ah!" he screamed. "Ah!" he cursed. The staff came down again, harder this time. He beat her until blood ran from her ribs. His foot was bleeding. His pride was bleeding worse. The road narrowed a third time, a place so tight there was no field, no wall to flee to, no left, no right, just the path, and the angel standing in it, the sword raised. The donkey stopped. She looked at the angel. She looked back at her master. She saw no escape, and she did the only thing left for her to do. She lay down beneath him, with Balaam still in the saddle. The most famous seer in the ancient world is sitting on top of a donkey who has just seen the living God. The seer sees nothing. The animal sees everything. And the man with the open eyes, the man who charges kings a fortune for his visions, the man whose name is written in red ink on temple walls, is screaming at his own livestock. Balaam did not see the angel. Balaam did not see the sword. Balaam saw only an animal who had embarrassed him in front of his servants. He raised the staff for the third time. And the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey.
What have I done to you, that you have struck me these 3 times?
A voice. Her voice. Somehow her voice. Human words rising from an animal mouth. Behind the master, on the narrow road, 2 servants stood frozen. One of them was a boy, maybe 15. He had been hired in Pethor a week earlier. His first journey, his first wages, his first time more than a day from his mother's house. He had spent the whole ride proud of himself, proud to be in the company of the great Balaam, son of Beor. He would never go on another journey again, not as long as he lived. He would tell this story to his grandchildren when his hands were too old to hold a cup steady, and his grandchildren would not believe him. He would not blame them, but he would always remember the exact sound the donkey's voice made, and the way his master kept arguing. Because notice what does not happen. Balaam does not gasp. Balaam does not fall to his knees. Balaam does not even seem surprised. The world's most expensive seer, the man Balak paid a fortune to consult, argues with his donkey as though it is the most natural thing in the world. In that argument, the truth is laid bare. This animal has more spiritual sight than the prophet riding her. The donkey sees God. The seer sees only his payday. The dumb beast has a clearer vision of heaven than the man who claims to speak for it. Balaam shouted back,
Because you have made a fool of me. If I had a sword in my hand, I would kill you right now.
He wished for a sword. He did not know a sword was already drawn, 3 feet ahead of him, with his name on it. The donkey reasoned with him, calmly, the way a faithful servant might reason with a master losing his mind.
Am I not your donkey, on which you have ridden all your life to this day? Was I ever in the habit of doing this to you?
And Balaam, outmaneuvered by livestock, was forced to answer the only word the truth allowed. No. There are people in your life who have tried to warn you. They didn't speak with eloquence. They didn't have the credentials. They didn't carry the right titles. They spoke with love, and you called it stubbornness. You called it foolishness. You raised your voice and beat the message down because the messenger wasn't impressive enough to be right.
As you wish.
Have you ever beaten the messenger God sent to save your life? Then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam. The first thing he noticed was the heat. He had been sweating, but he had thought it was the sun. It was not the sun. The road was on fire. Not burning, but bright, like the air itself had become a furnace. And then he saw the figure. He had seen kings. He had seen high priests. He had stood in chambers of Mesopotamian palaces where idols stood 20 cubits high, and he had felt the weight of those rooms. None of it had prepared him for this.
And then he saw the figure.
The sword was the first thing his eyes could focus on, 3 feet from his face, held still, not raised, not lowered, held, waiting. And then his mind began to count backward. The field. He had beaten her in the field. The wall. He had crushed his own foot against the wall and beaten her again. The narrow place. He had raised the staff a third time over an animal lying down beneath him. 3 times. 3 times she had saved his life. 3 times he had punished her for it. His knees buckled before he decided to kneel. His face hit the dust before he chose to bow. And somewhere underneath the terror, underneath the trembling, a single thought broke open in his chest like a wound. Oh God, she was the only thing on this whole road that loved me. The angel spoke.
Why have you struck your donkey these 3 times? Behold, I have come out to oppose you.
Because your way is perverse before me. The donkey saw me and turned aside from me these 3 times. If she had not turned aside from me, surely just now I would also have killed you and let her live.
Read that last line again. I would have killed you and let her live. The animal he wanted to kill had kept him alive 3 times. The staff he raised against her was the only reason his head was still on his shoulders. The Apostle Peter, writing 1500 years later in 2 Peter chapter 2, looked back at this moment and chose his words with terrifying precision. He wrote that, a dumb donkey speaking with a man's voice rebuked the madness of the prophet. The Greek word he used for madness there is paraphronia. It means derangement, mind out of place. Peter was saying that Balaam's greed had unhinged him from sanity. He had become so blinded by silver that he could no longer recognize an angel 3 feet in front of him. He needed an animal to bring him back. That is what greed does to a man. It does not just corrupt him, it deranges him. Balaam offered a confession.
I have sinned. I did not know you stood in the way against me. Now therefore, if it is evil in your sight, I will turn back.
Listen to those words. If it is evil in your sight. The angel had just told him his way was perverse. The donkey had just spoken human words. The sword was still drawn. And Balaam was still asking if this was wrong. He was not repenting. He was negotiating, even now, with a sword at his throat. The angel said, Go with the men, but only the word I speak to you, that you shall speak. He let him go. Balaam climbed back into the saddle, but his legs would not stop shaking. The angel had let him go. The angel had let him go. And under the relief, under the trembling, the seer of Pethor felt a thought he could not push down. The road is still open. The silver is still ahead. Maybe there is still a way.
They climbed Bamoth Baal at sunrise. 7 altars, built fast, built crooked, stones still wet from the riverbed where the slaves had pulled them. 7 bulls bellowing as the priests led them up. The smell of animal fear strong enough that Balaam's donkey, tied below, would not stop pulling at her rope. Balak stood beside the 7th altar with his hands clasped tight, his knuckles white, watching Balaam's lips, waiting for the curse he had paid 400 miles of desert to hear. Balaam opened his mouth, and blessing came out.
How shall I curse whom God has not cursed? How shall I denounce whom the Lord has not denounced?
Balak's face went pale.
What have you done to me? I took you to curse my enemies, and look, you have blessed them altogether.
Balaam shrugged. Must I not take heed to speak what the Lord has put in my mouth? So Balak tried again. A second mountain, the field of Zophim, new altars, new sacrifices. The wind colder up here, the priests' robes whipping around their legs as they slaughtered the bulls. Balak whispering through clenched teeth, "Please, please this time." Balaam opened his mouth a second time, and this time the words went deeper. "God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should repent. Has he said, and will he not do it? Or has he spoken, and will he not make it good?" That was not a blessing. That was a death sentence on Balak's entire strategy. God's word does not change. God's mind does not bend. The blessing on Israel was nailed into eternity. A third mountain, the peak of Peor. Balak running out of mountains, running out of altars, running out of hope. And Balaam, this time, did not even bother with the omens. The Spirit of God came on him directly. He looked over the camp of Israel, 12 tribes arrayed in perfect order in the valley below, smoke from morning fires rising in straight pillars, the sound of children laughing somewhere among the tents. And he spoke words a curse for hire was never supposed to speak. "How beautiful are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel." And then he sealed Balak's doom in a single line. "Blessed is everyone who blesses you, and cursed is everyone who curses you." The exact words spoken to Abraham 5 centuries earlier now thundered down on a king who had spent a fortune trying to do the cursing. Balak exploded. He struck his hands together. He shouted, "Flee now to your place! I said I would honor you greatly, but the Lord has kept you back from honor." Balaam should have left. He had survived an angel's sword. He had escaped a king's wrath. He had spoken truth in spite of himself 3 times in a row. But the Spirit of God was not done with his mouth. One more oracle was coming, and this one would not be about Israel's tents. This one would pierce 14 centuries into the future. The sun was low. A wind moved across the plains of Moab, the kind of wind that comes in late afternoon when the day has run out of breath. Balak was silent now, exhausted, watching from a distance. Balaam stood on the heights, alone with the wind, and the Spirit of God came down on him. His eyes glazed, his voice changed. He was no longer speaking as a hired prophet. He was speaking as a man who had been hijacked by heaven. "I see him." Stop. Who is him? Balak had asked for a curse. Balaam was not cursing. Balaam was seeing. But not now. Balaam was looking across time itself. "I behold him, but not near." A vision of someone not yet born, someone 1400 years away. "There shall come a star out of Jacob." A star, a king. "A scepter shall rise out of Israel." A kingdom that would crush all kingdoms. "He shall crush the brow of Moab and destroy all the sons of tumult." Balak heard his own nation named in the prophecy, his own people, crushed by the rising king. The curse he paid for had become the curse on his own head. And somewhere, beneath the Spirit's voice rolling through his mouth, Balaam heard himself speak the words and understood them. A star, a king, a scepter. He saw it. For one breath of time, the seer of Pethor actually saw it. A child, a manger, foreign men kneeling in straw, gold and frankincense glinting in lamplight. He understood that the king he was prophesying was the only one who could have saved him. And then the breath ended, and he reached for the silver again. Here is what Balak did not know. Here is what Balaam himself did not understand. That prophecy did not stay in Moab. 1400 years later, in the same land Balaam came from, Mesopotamia along the Euphrates, there was a class of seers, astronomers, scholars of the heavens, men of the East, the Magi. They had inherited a prophecy, passed down for generations, from a foreign seer who had once stood on the mountains of Moab and spoken of a star. a king, a scepter rising out of Israel. The Magi had preserved Balaam's words in their archives for 14 centuries, waiting, watching the sky. And on a winter night, near a small town in Judea called Bethlehem, that star rose. The Magi packed their gifts, gold, frankincense, myrrh. They saddled their camels. They followed the light west, the same direction Balaam had once traveled. And they came to Jerusalem asking the question that had burned in their books for 1,400 years. Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and have come to worship him. The pagan prophet's words outlived him by 14 centuries and led foreign men to the manger of Christ. There is something terrifying about this. Sometimes God uses people who never truly served him to deliver words that save people who do. Sometimes the message is bigger than the messenger. Because Balaam never bowed at the manger he prophesied. Balaam never followed the star he spoke of. Balaam never knelt before the king his own mouth had named. Even after the angel, even after the donkey, even after 4 oracles spoken in the power of the Spirit, his heart still belonged to the silver, and the silver does not save anyone.
The story does not end on the heights of Moab. When Balaam realized he could not curse Israel from the outside, he found a back door. He went to Balak privately and gave him counsel that would echo in Scripture for the rest of eternity. Send your women into the camp. Seduce the men of Israel. Lead them into idolatry. Let them curse themselves. 24,000 Israelites died in the plague that followed. 24,000. What does that number mean? It means a father walking into his tent at dusk and finding his son already cold. It means a young wife, 4 months from her wedding, dying in her mother's arms outside the door of a stranger. It means an entire generation of Israel, the generation that was supposed to enter the Promised Land, buried in pits along the Jordan River before they ever crossed it. Balaam never lifted a sword. Balaam never spoke a curse. He just whispered an idea to a king, and the idea did the killing. When the army of Israel marched against Midian in judgment, they found him still there, still in the camp of the enemy, still hoping for one more payment. He died by the sword that day. Numbers 31 verse 8 records his name among the slain. The very sword the angel had withheld on the narrow road 14 years earlier finally fell. He had once prayed with his own mouth, "Let me die the death of the righteous, and let my end be like his." But you cannot die the death of the righteous if you refuse to live the life of the righteous. Those two things are not separable. You do not get the ending without the journey. His donkey saw God. His enemies were blessed by his own mouth. His prophecy lit the way to Bethlehem. But he himself died grasping for a coin he never even got to spend. The most tragic figure in the Bible is not the one who never heard from God. It is the one who heard and sold it. There is a voice on the road of your life right now. It is not loud. It is not impressive. It might be coming through someone you've already dismissed, a spouse you stopped listening to, a friend you stopped trusting, a verse you keep stepping over, a sermon you walked out of, a donkey you keep beating. Don't wait for the sword. If this story has shaken something in you tonight, take 1 second and subscribe, because the next story coming on this channel is one you cannot afford to miss. Like the video so it reaches one more person on a narrow road of their own. And in the comments, write just one sentence. What is the warning God has been sending you that you've been beating down? I'll read every reply, because somewhere in this very moment, a donkey is trying to speak, and someone is listening to her for the first time.